For over 20 years, a man whom some call a modern-day John the Baptist has been traveling the globe, telling audiences that the second coming of Christ will not be a celestial spectacle in a distant future, but is instead a real event, unfolding since 1977 behind the scenes of everyday life, and signifying the reappearance of a great spiritual teacher for all people, a world teacher, who is not only Christ returned, but also the long-awaited Messiah, the Imam Mahdi, Krishna, and the fifth Buddha, all one and the same individual. This world teacher, whose name is Maitreya, stands at the head of an enlightened group known as the Masters of Wisdom, who are here to help humanity solve the problems of the world. Mr. Creme's perspectives about the world teacher and the Masters of Wisdom derive from and continue the theosophical teachings introduced by Helena Blavatsky in 1875 and expanded upon by Alice Bailey from 1919 to 1949. Both Blavatsky and Bailey claimed to have received their information telepathically from one or more of the Masters. Benjamin Creme also claims such telepathic contact.
Hey everyone. Welcome again to Revelations. Okay, Madame Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, these were two women very, very much into the occult. Clearly, the two of these women were into channeling. They believed they were communicating mentally with spirits in another realm. In 1873, Madame Blavatsky came to New York City. She impressed people with her evident psychic abilities. She was spurred on to continue her mediumship. Through her career, she was reputed to have demonstrated physical and mental psychic feats, which included levitation, clairvoyance, out-of-body projection, telepathy, and clairaudience. Another alleged skill of hers was materialization, that is, producing physical objects out of nothing. Though she was reportedly quite adept at these accomplishments, she claimed that her interests were more in the area of theory and laws, of how they work, rather than performing them herself. While living in New York City, she founded the Theosophical Society. The Theosophical Society just basically said all religions are true, their inner teachings are all true, and they're all false at the same time. Now, Alice Bailey was a leading disciple of Madame Blavatsky. She formed the Lucifer Trust in 1920. 1922 saw the organization's name changed to the Lucis Trust. I wonder why they had to do that. The Lucis Trust promulgates the work of an ascended master who was working through Alice Bailey for some 30 years. The Lucis Trust Publishing Company and their many fronts and organizations worship an externalized hierarchy of ascended masters who carry out the work of a Luciferian master plan for the establishment of a permanent age of Aquarius, ruled by one Sanat Kumara, the Lord of the world. So the Lucis Trust is a New Age movement, yes, but it's also an institution that has consultative status at the United Nations, which permits it to have a close working relationship with the UN, including a seat on the weekly sessions. But more importantly, they're not just sitting in on these meetings. They're piping in, chiming in, and influencing world leaders in decisions that they're making. So the Lucis Trust is sitting in on these meetings, and they're pushing globalization, and under the pretense of making the world a better place, they're saying globalization is the way to go, that's the only way to have true equality. Actually, that's the only way to set up an Antichrist one-world government. Now, the Lucis Trust is run through an international board of trustees whose membership has included John D. Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger. And this basically then ties them into more of these secretive, elitist groups like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, and the Trilateral Commission. So you have a permeation of these occult groups seeping into these seemingly just little political bodies or wealthy banking communities. So with that, I'll get back to Creme. I just wanted to give you all some background on Creme's influence and to explain to you how his influences are also influencing the world around us, so he doesn't just seem like an isolated little offshoot of some cult. I mean, this is something that was started at the late 1800s and the early 1900s, this New Age movement, and it's the same New Age movement we have now. The rebirth of big-time acceptance of paganism and Satanism, and the same goes for the idea that UFOs planted us here, or seeded us here, or aliens somehow infused genetic manipulation into monkeys that helped speed along the evolutionary process to create mankind. That all comes from the same place. That all comes from this early 20th century movement of occultism. And when you wonder how deeply this movement goes, think about our last pope running around the world, having groups of every different religion on the planet coming to the Vatican and all praying simultaneously to their gods. George Bush ignoring the fact that Jesus said no man can come to the Father but by me, and stating that Muslims and Christians worship the same God and that we just have different ways about getting to the Almighty. This is a very dangerous movement that has infiltrated modern-day Christianity and distorted that into something that's unholy and wrong. So, you know, you just lump Jesus in there and say, yeah, he was a great guy too. He was just one of these other minions of these higher spiritual realmed beings. Well, that's nonsense. Jesus said, I'm the Son of God. He didn't say, I'm an enlightened master. The Bible's very clear about this. Just to cite a few examples, Jesus said God was his Father in John 5:18. Jesus said, I came from God in John 8:42. Jesus said, dost thou believe in the Son of God? It is he that talketh with thee in John 9:35 and 37. Even God said it. Matthew 3:17. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. You have evil spirits calling him the Son of God. When he died, the centurion said, truly this was the Son of God. None of these people were saying, wow, Jesus was an enlightened being, a master from a spiritual realm. No, he was the Son of God. So Benjamin Creme can twist Jesus any way he wants, but in doing so, he should infuriate every Christian that hears him say this nonsense, because he's rewriting reality. He's rewriting the Word of God and twisting it into something that is purely Luciferian and satanic in nature. And this guy has ties to the UN. The UN is funding this guy. Okay, so let's listen to more about this, the Maitreya.